G'day and welcome to another episode of Kiwi Car Life and the Honda CR-V. It's been around since 1996. We're about to see a 6th generation, and this car, alongside the Toyota RAV4 back in the mid-90s, kick-started the medium-sized crossover SUV with a touch of all-wheel drive adventure flair thrown in that we're all very well familiar with today. Why is the 2nd generation CR-V my favourite? Well, let's start with the outside. The 1st generation was a fine looking automobile, but in my opinion the 2nd generation looks much better, although admittedly not this one. It's got unpainted black bumpers that look like they're straight off a 0-star NCAP safety rated Mitsubishi Express van, and the wheels look like they're straight off a 1956 Morris Marina. But putting all of that aside, the facelift sport models of these with the nice alloy wheels and the thankfully painted bumpers, in my opinion, are a pretty decent looking car even today. And there's a number of other improvements that Honda made to the 2nd generation over the 1st generation. There's lots of unpainted black plastic everywhere which won't get damaged by harvested grain fields or pebbled beachlands or grubby children with gritty fingers. And they added things like a skid plate in the front, a bash bar over the fuel tank, and look at this boot. On the 1st generation, to open it up you had to push the button on the key fob to open up the glass first, and then you could open the rest of the tailgate, which completely defeated the purpose of having a handle here. With this one though, the glass is separate and the boot opens in one big piece. Inside there's lots of black plastic, and how modern. No grey plastics to be found here whatsoever. The seats are fantastically uncomfortable, but they give you a good view of the road ahead, and more advanced versions of the CR-V came with a sunroof, leather seats, cruise control. Some of them even had a cooler box down here. The legroom in the back seats is marvellous, the boot space is brilliant, and by extension you even have a picnic table in the back, making this the perfect off-road wilderness machine. Now, if I haven't already convinced you to go out and spend your hard-earned currency on one of these fine automobiles, take a look under the bonnet. You'll note that every unpainted metal surface comes factory installed with a dashing of rust. It's good, it keeps the local body shops in business. But if you look a little closer, you will see that there are no B20s to be found under this bonnet, with cam belts that require changing every 4 centuries and a transmission with the mechanical integrity of a block of cheese. This is a K24, the best engine known to man. While in this example it has the power of 4 harnessed children, it's paired up with a 5-speed manual transmission, linking up with a viscous centre differential, allowing this $500 crap box to do some truly remarkable things. Now, I wouldn't be able to do a review of the CR-V without testing out at least a little bit of its 4-wheel driving capabilities, and unfortunately, while it can do some things, it definitely can't do everything. It doesn't really have a proper locking centre differential. It's only a sort of limited slip one which will engage when it needs to, I suppose. And so quite big, tough 4-wheel drive hills like that it can't do, where something like a 1st gen RAV can do. But it will get up basic gravelly hills like this with very little difficulty. That's fine, and you know, grassy hills and so on, it can make it up no problem. And thankfully these things have a very short 1st gear, so even though they don't have a proper low range gearbox, for your normal farm sort of off-roading like this and anything that requires ground clearance, it'll have no trouble with whatsoever. You know, you can get up a big bank like this, no problem at all. It'll be perfectly fine with that. It's a little bit of wheel spin, but you know, it can make it up no problem at all. And above all else, especially with a manual, it is a very fun car to drive. So while it isn't exactly sensational off-road, I mean, like I said, it can do the basic stuff, but it's not exactly going to be hanging with the big boys on crazy off-road trails. What's it like on-road? Well, if you set your mind back to 2001 when this came out, and bear in mind that you can now pick one of these up for 2 or 3 grand if you're prepared to get one with a few Ks like this. It's actually a really decent car in my opinion. It's reasonably comfortable, the ride's pretty decent, the transmission feel is excellent, you can heel toe downshifts, it's smooth and very, very easy to drive, and you really wouldn't expect, even the automatic ones of these are fun. And of course it has a K24. Look at that, see, I'm pulling on a Prado, I'm catching up to it, mate. This thing's a flipping rocket. Nah, not really. Compared with my Accord, this thing is slow. 118 kilowatt. Does not get you going terribly quickly at all. But all of the indicators and everything. Well, that was a rude interruption. It's not exactly like I'm going slow in the outside lane here, good grief. Somebody's in a hurry. So there we go. That is the 2nd generation CR-V. I really like them. If you put yourself in the perspective of the fact that this is a very, very cheap car, the things it can do, it's pretty good on-road, it's alright off-road, it's fun to drive, it sounds good, it's manual, it actually accelerates when you put your foot down. It just puts, like, it shouldn't put a smile on your face, but it genuinely does, and I love it for that reason. And if you want to see some more videos that I've done with some CR-Vs, then click over here to see me taking a 2nd gen off-road, and click over here to see me reviewing a 1st generation, and I will look forward to seeing you again next time.